So, welcome back to the Financial Bites podcast. I'm your host and social media CPA, Chris Passmore. So, just last month, Forbes reported that out of three executives polled, at least one of them and their business has been a target of a cyber attack. So, I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Jim Bourke, to discuss all things cyber. Jim is the managing director of advisory services at Withum. He was recently recognized by Accounting Today as one of its top most 100 influential people. He previously served on the board of the AICPA and was the president of the New Jersey Society of CPA. So, Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Thanks for being my partner too, by the way, man. And thanks for inviting me to finally participate with you on this, man. I'm so excited.
Well, and then this is a topic that I'm passionate about, but I know you're passionate about too, about all things cybersecurity, because it is becoming prevalent and so many areas are being breached and attacked. So I just wanted to start. So tell our audience, who is Jim Bourke? How did you become the managing director of advisory services at Withum, and maybe what types of clients you work on in this area?
Sure, man. So who is Jim Bourke, man? Yeah, my wife asks me that all the time. Who is Jim Bourke, man? My partners ask me, who is Jim Bourke? What do you do? So, I'm this guy that started with the firm. I had this passion for technology and accounting. I often say if I didn't go down the accounting path, I'd probably been a programmer. I used to write a lot of programs and stuff in college and school. And so when I came into the profession, I brought that knowledge of technology and accounting together. And it's been the best of both worlds. What does that have to do with advisory? Technology is driving every single thing that we do in advisory. As you know, the whole profession is migrating to advisory. Accountants are starting to understand, hey, we're really good at audit. We're really good at tax. We're also really good at this other stuff that goes along with it, all the other things that our clients want, right? So, their clients are asking us for all types of advisory services. And right now, cyber is, in my opinion, the lowest hanging fruit that we have in offering advisory services, because it's something that every single client needs help with, regardless of whether they think they need help with it or not. I mean, you open this up by talking about, the article that you read about 1 in 4, right? 1 in 4 feel that, they may have been subject to a breach. You know what? How about the other 3? Maybe they have been subject to a breach. Maybe they're not aware of it. That's one of the biggest concerns. So, we're perfectly positioned in this profession, Chris, that we understand risk really, really well. That's our audit background as CPAs. We couple up with technologists, cybersecurity specialists to help us on projects. And really, that's what really differentiates a firm, an accounting firm, being in this space, offering cybersecurities, than the cybersecurity services, than a cyber shop down the street. Because like I said, Chris, CPAs, we understand risk.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You mentioned that, maybe 1 in 3, 1 in 4 were breached, but what about the other 3? So are you thinking actually that maybe that number is kind of low and maybe more have been breached than people actually understand?
Absolutely. So there's different levels. People call it breaches. They call it incidents. Incidents happen every single day. Even at Withum, we see continued attacks on our firewall, continued attempts. I mean, you have to be under a rock not to have gotten an email recently that asked you for your password, your login, your credentials to your Bank of America account, your PNC account, your whatever it may be, because they're just playing on the fact that there are millions of people that have these accounts. More likely than not, someone is going to fall victim and actually say, "Wow, yeah, I just let me log in, let me give my credentials away," and it becomes a real problem. So these problems happen all the time. So we spend a lot of time, Chris, on the front end, on the risk mitigation side, peeking under the covers, just checking to make sure things are good. I mean, yes, I love the other side. I love the incident response side, the back end. When something happens, we put the team on planes, trains, automobiles. They go wherever they need to go to get to the bottom of the incident. But you don't want to be there in a business, because when you're there, you're dead in the water. Your front end is down. You're not selling. You're not doing business. So huge investment on the front side, on the risk mitigation side.
Yeah. So your passion here is obvious. This is obviously an area that you want to make people aware of. There's huge risk here. And you noted at the beginning that you were going to be a programmer. So have you always had a passion for technology and just you see how it integrates into every, facet of our life now with smart homes and everything else?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so about smart homes. My whole home is pimped out in all kinds of technology. Even my bed. I shouldn't even tell my wife this, but she knows it. But our bed is all teched out, right? I could be on the other side of the world. I could be in Sydney, and I can know exactly who, like my wife on her side of the bed. I could know her breathing rate. I can know that she's last time she got out of bed, and it becomes scary, man, because I'll know whether somebody's on my side of the bed or not too.
Oh,
So I
geez.
mean, the whole house, man, is just wired. I mean, whether you're using Nest systems, whether you're using Ring on your doors, on your windows, we're all plugged in all the time, right? And with that, I think it's really cool technology, but at the same time, it leaves your cells vulnerable. So we are vulnerable in our homes. I'm working from home today. You're vulnerable no matter where you may be. You're vulnerable on an airplane. You're sitting on an airplane. You're connecting to Wi-Fi. Well, everyone on that airplane is connecting to Wi-Fi. What if you got a guy like me? I'm a good guy, remember, that you might have a sniffer. And I have a sniffer. I'm looking at packets of information coming over that Wi-Fi signal. Man, it's people are doing all kinds of stuff on airplanes today, man. They're buying stuff on eBay, on Amazon. They're checking their bank balances. All of that stuff is keystrokes going through the air on that airplane. So you got to be super, super careful today, no matter where you are.
Yeah. And I'm with you. My house is fairly tricked out also that,
All right,
you know,
how about your bed, man? You got one of those smart beds that does it?
I,
Oh,
I don't have a smart bed, but let's see, I've got the smart thermostat, I've got the smart light switches, the smart speakers. But to your point,
yeah.
I mean, it's a great observation. Every single one of those
Yes.
conveniences is also a risk
Yes.
because someone can get through. I remember a long time ago reading a story about how a business or a residence was hacked because someone got in through the refrigerator, which
Yeah.
was smart. So
Yes.
it's
Absolutely.
crazy.
Refrigerators, lights. Not only that, think about the main point of internet access in a home is generally someone's cable modem, someone's, something like that, right? Well, the stupid thing is you go to that modem, man, you pick it up, you look at the bottom, there's a tag on it. That tag not only has, it has the login information that you need to get into that modem the first time. It has the password. They print the password on the back. Most people never change those passwords. You get anybody in your house that has half a brain decides to look at that, that's the ticket to having access, not just to the house, man, but to every device that's connected to it that may be
Mhm.
connected to work, employment, other places. So super vulnerable today.
Well, and it's an amazing point because now with the increase of working from home over the
Yeah.
last 3 years, now all of a sudden your home security
Yeah.
translates into your company risk or your
Yeah.
company security. Because before, if you would drive to your office, to your headquarters, maybe things were more secure. But now with so many people working either hybrid or remotely,
Yeah.
if, like you said, your
Yeah.
password is printed on a home modem and
Yeah.
you're accessing from your home office,
Yeah.
your
And
business is now greatly at risk.
yeah, absolutely. Huge concern today, man. And at Withum, we thought about that. When staff left, right, we all thought it was the end of the world back in 2019, and they all worked remotely. We started thinking about risk, and our CIO and Mel was like, "Wow, we have to do something here because we can control the environment once our staff are inside our office. But now, when they're all working with tax returns and financial statements and accessing client files remotely." We have to set rules up around that remote access. So, yeah, it becomes a challenge even for the smartest technologists that within a firm. How do you police it and how do you control it? Because we're so vulnerable, so
Yeah.
vulnerable.
So let's go a little deeper on here. So obviously a recent trend is working from home.
Yeah,
So there's the risk of a company's data or PII
yeah.
because of that. Well, what other trends are you seeing lately that is new? I mean, is it AI? Is it something else? What are you seeing out there in the marketplace?
Well,
Right.
when it impacts cyber, there are lots of trends there. I mean, you look at phishing attacks. Phishing attacks, during and post COVID are off the charts. People are distracted, right? They don't know when to shut off. They don't know when to turn on. They're working from home, so there is no separation, right? I get up in the morning, I go to the gym, I come back, I'm checking emails, I go, I'll have breakfast with my wife, I'll come upstairs, I'll have emails, I'll do work, I'll have video calls all day, I'll have lunch. There's no separation anymore. It's like when you work remote, everything, your life is all blended together. So it's all part of it. And that becomes a problem because you become very vulnerable to a lot of these distractions. And I'll tell you, hands down, phishing attacks became one of the #1 type of threats that we saw as a firm. I talked to other firms our size, same thing, Big Four. There's been a significant increase in it because we're working from home. We're always plugged in. We're always connected. And then when we're not connected, we are connected. You might be sitting and watching TV. You might be, and at night, you may have your phone next to you. It may go off. You may look. So you become very vulnerable, even at the extremes of the day. Early morning, late at night, you may click something. You may click something you're not. So that has become a problem. And yeah, when it comes to other new emerging technologies, we're starting to see cyber criminals in that space as well. I mean, you got chat now, you got artificial intelligence going on in different applications. There's so many ways that criminals are taking advantage of these new technologies. They're looking for just vulnerable points, vulnerabilities to prey on, to take advantage of PII, the confidential information.
So let's say a client of ours, a small business,
Yeah.
maybe based in New Jersey, maybe 50 employees, and as you mentioned, phishing attempts are just off the charts.
Yep.
What could that business owner do to help minimize the risk of one of those phishing attempts being successful? Because if they're now getting dinged 100 more times than 3 years ago,
Yep.
I would be terrified.
Yeah. So look, it comes down to constant in your face training, reminders. You can never remind your staff too much. Yes, I understand if you send staff a bunch of email and talk about cyber attacks, eventually it's like the boy that cried wolf, delete. I deleted because I got another email from IT. So as you know, Chris, we've taken it to the next level. There's no one exempt from our training. There's no one exempt from our process. So as you know, we made it mandatory. I don't care whether you're an intern on day one or whether you're our CEO, right? You are subject to the same enforcement action. So we force everyone to watch, I would say, stupid but educational videos about the importance of cybersecurity and letting your guard down. We show these videos randomly every month, every 2 months. We post another video, and we make it mandatory that every single person, all 2,500 people at Withum, every single person has to watch the video, has to answer the question at the end. And we don't care if they get it right or wrong, because we're going to eventually show them the right answer. But the fact that they watch this 2-minute kind of blurb, it's stupid, it's funny, it educates them about vulnerabilities. So they have to do it. If they don't watch it, we shut them off. We give them an opportunity to watch it. If they don't watch it by the time that opportunity date lapses, they are disconnected from our system. We take our client information, privacy, so seriously, and we have to do it. And so I mentioned, whether you're an intern or whether you're the CEO, you don't watch the video, you get your system turned off. Doesn't matter how much stock you own, doesn't matter anything, because all it takes is one person to become vulnerable. So that's what I would recommend for clients. That's what I would recommend for companies, is that you got to get serious with it. There's a no exception policy. Education is out there. There's a lot of companies out there that have technologies that can educate in the space. Mindcast is one of the technologies that we use. Know Before is another technology. Is probably the largest around the globe that we've seen. They just push educational content. So even if you don't have an IT department, you could subscribe to a process whereby these types of videos get pushed to all of your staff on a continuing basis.
I'm almost scared to ask of new clients that you talk to who want to review their cybersecurity and their controls. How many actually have this training in place on average? Because I talk about it all the time, and most people go, "They have that? I didn't know they do that."
I know. So Chris, you raised a really good point. I'm big on risk mitigation. That is one of the best ways to minimize your risk. We have something, so auditors do this ITGC stuff, IT general controls. We look at IT general controls. Historically, auditors didn't look at cyber around that. So we came up with this add-on to the ITGC space when we do audits. It's a cybersecurity checklist. The cybersecurity checklist, the auditor sits down with the client, they go through about 20 questions, right? 2 pages of questions. It's all electronic today, so it's not even a check the box type thing. I will tell you, it's greater than 80% that we see that don't provide education on a continuing basis about these types of things. That's a risk. That's a risk, a huge risk, because people need to be constantly reminded. I need to be constantly reminded because I'm on this all day long. It can't hurt. The reminders can't hurt. And it's a good way to do it. Like I said, emails are not going to get read. They're going to get deleted eventually. When people understand, oh, this is IT again, reminding me about the threats of cyber, people are going to get frustrated with it. But when you make it mandatory, not only that, we also do testing. We'll screw around with our staff. I mean, we will intentionally send something bad to select people that we know have been, let's say, tripping up on cybersecurity issues. And sure enough, they fall for it. They give away their credentials. So it becomes an issue. We learn about it, and we try to focus our training on those points of vulnerability.
So where do you think the disconnect is? Because we've gotten to the point that I think most people in the marketplace realize that I'm going to be attacked, and heck, I might be breached one day. There's really not much I can do about it. But at the same time, they don't provide training. So if I'm a business owner, if I'm a client, where do you think that disconnect is? Is it just it hasn't affected me yet, so I don't know what the pain feels like?
Yeah.
It's such a broad difference of you're gonna get hit, but I'm not doing anything about it. Where do you think
it is
the disconnect is?
It is, but there's a big disconnect out there because you know why? It's not something that's here. Like when you have to do financial statements for a bank, a comp, a review, an audit, it's a necessary evil. You got to pay someone to come in and do it. You have to do your tax returns because the IRS and all the states say you have to file tax returns. So you hire somebody to come in and do it. Why should I hire somebody to come in and educate me about cybersecurity risk? I've never been hacked. I've never been breached. So it's a gamble, and there are so many companies out there that take that risk and gamble. I will tell you, public companies don't take that risk. There's mandatory, rules around cybersecurity awareness. Things like SOC 2 engagements, right? A SOC 2 engagement is an audit report today. It's subject to peer review, like an audit of financial statements. It's an audit around a company's technology controls, to me, around their cybersecurity controls as it impacts the company. There's a SOC for cybersecurity audit today. Brand new, came out. Well, not brand new, came out a few years ago when cybersecurity concerns started to raise. Those products are being embraced by publicly held companies. Why? Because they have lots of accountability to the SEC. They have accountability to their shareholders and their investors and their customers. So they take it serious. It's when you drop down to that next level, large private companies are very concerned about it. I will tell you, we have a lot of large privately held companies that we do a lot of risk mitigation work. We peek under the covers all the time. We test it. They pay for training, all of that. It's when you drop down to the mom and pop companies, the smaller, closely held companies, the stores on Main Street, they are all so vulnerable. They just feel it can't happen to me. And let me tell you, it does. It really does. I'll give you an example, Chris. So we had a Withum client, a closely held business that grew from a small company to a large company. And we were instrumental in helping them sell their business to a publicly held company. And basically what ended up happening is a couple of weeks before the deal came to fruition, before the deal was actually finalized, the company had a cyber breach. The company had a cyber breach. And what ended up happening, 7 figures was allocated to put into a fund in the event of ramifications show up in the future as a result of the cyber breach that took place. That's a 7-figure potential mistake. So this happens all the time. I mean, Verizon, a couple of years ago, Verizon went out, did an acquisition, and same thing happened on the acquisition. Verizon was doing due diligence and found out that there was a cyber breach. It ended up killing the deal. So today, one of the things we do today, we have a transaction advisory group. Like most firms, they go out, they help clients with buy side, sell side due diligence. On the buy side, we encourage our clients, let's peek under the covers. Let's do the normal stuff that you would do when you go to buy a company. You verify earnings, quality of earnings, you do all of that stuff. How about the technology side? How about someone look at their code? How about someone look at risk? Are they really safe? Or maybe they've already been breached, they just don't know it. So that's another that's another opportunity out there for CPAs helping their clients. Let's do a deep dive. Let's see if everything is okay or that we've been subject to a breach.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy to think in that example. I mean, you're talking $1 million plus
Yes.
in potential loss in real value. That if
Yes.
you think back in time and if they
Mhm.
implemented cybersecurity training,
Yes.
the cost of that preventative measure is probably a
Absolutely.
fraction of what
Absolutely.
now they've been exposed to.
Absolutely.
It's pretty crazy. And that same Forbes article that I mentioned at the beginning,
Yeah.
they noted that they estimated the cost of cyber bad actors
Yep.
stealing at something like $8 trillion this year. That's
Globally. Well, I'll
trillion
tell you.
with a T.
Oh, absolutely. Globally, man, it's a huge issue. So my other role besides at Withum, managing director, I spent a lot of time with our international association, HLB. So I head up advisory for HLB in London, and that exposes me to what's going around the globe with all the firms, the 300 plus firms that we have that are around the globe. And I'll tell you, they're all experiencing the same thing. I often say that technology and cybersecurity, it's a global language because tax is different every single country you go to. Hell, tax is different in every single state that you go to in the US, right? You look at audit, that's unique to, you got IFRS, international standards, you got GAAP, you got GAS, you got all types of different standards. When it comes to technology, man, it's the global language. I speak about technology around the globe, so many different countries. I talk about cyber. The same stuff applies whether I'm in California, whether I'm in Jersey, whether I'm in London, Paris, Sydney, it doesn't matter. And we're all dealing with the same issues. That's why, if I'm a CPA and I'm offering audit and tax services, I give serious consideration to, hey, we should be in this space. We should be helping to advise our clients about cybersecurity and risk.
Yeah. Well, to your point, universal language, universal risk. And we've talked about how large public companies are proactively mitigating that risk. But when you go down a level, all of a sudden that falls apart. So
Mhm.
is that because this preventative measures, maybe the preventative technology is just not accessible or affordable to a middle market company
No
or
way.
a small retail chain? Maybe they have 5 locations in Los Angeles. Is it just not
No way.
accessible for them?
No way. No way. No way. No way. I don't care how small or how big you are. If you're big, all good. You got resources. You got a CIO in place. You got a chief risk officer. You got infrastructure. All well and good. When you're little, I understand you can't have a IT director, a CIO, a chief risk officer. We are multiple hats, right? You are the CIO, the CFO, the CEO, the COO. You're everything. But there are so many companies out there, man, that provide these, let's say, managed services. There's cyber managed services today. We offer cyber managed services for a fee every single month. We watch the activity. We monitor what's going in, what's going out. If things look unusual, if there are anomalies outside the normal business, if there are things coming in, requests coming in that shouldn't be coming in from unusual sites, it's flagged. Those types of services are out there, man, for the smallest of companies. There are a tremendous amount of managed service, cyber managed service companies. Be careful, like cyber managed services is different than like typical managed services where they fix your keyboard, they fix your mouse, they replace your laptop. You got to get a little bit deeper when it comes to this stuff. Look, you're making your living in your business and it's a globally connected business. You're connected to the internet. Your registers are connected to the internet. You got inventory. You need to be looking at cybersecurity concerns. So even small companies got to take it seriously. For a couple $1,000 a year, it's well worth it, because think about what a disaster you would have if you don't invest in that preventative type stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So think about what could happen. What are the common mistakes that you see and what's the result of that? There's got to be, a common theme that you see frequently. And like what's worst case, the thing that you've seen where you just go, "Oh my God, I can't believe that happened."
Yeah, well, yeah, I got to tell you, man, it's basic stuff. So I am like your worst nightmare, right? So, but again, I'm a good guy, and I remind everyone of this all the time. So, I'll go into meetings. I'll go in to do a conference at, let's say, a Marriott. I'll pick a Marriott hotel. I'll go into a conference to do a Marriott hotel. If I'm speaking on cybersecurity, and I've done this before, I will set up my own access point. Access point gives people access to, let's say, my system. So my system is connected to my access point. Maybe I'll just use the same name on the access point that the Marriott uses, Marriott underscore guest or something like that. I'll find out what's being used at a hotel. I'll use that. I'll make it really strong. So most people don't understand when you're at a hotel, like a Marriott, and again, I'm not single out Marriott, it could be anyone, and you walk around the hotel, your machine is connecting from one access point to the next access point as you make your way around different floors, different rooms. So what happens is you come into my conference, I have that strongest signal because it's also the same signal. So your phone just picks up on that access point. And then what I usually will do is I'll just play around with people a little bit, and I'll put on the table the passcode to get into the network, and I'll have them key the passcode in. And I'll talk about cybersecurity. I'll do all of that. And then when I'm done, I'll actually show them on a screen everything that I've been capturing for the last hour as I've been talking about how important it is to focus on cyber and cybersecurity. And these are smart people in this room, right? I speak in front of a lot of CEOs, a lot of CPAs, and I'm talking to them about the importance of security and privacy and don't do this and don't do that. And while I was talking, like most people, they're all multitasking. I'm showing them. They're buying stuff on eBay. They're on Amazon. They're watching. They're streaming freaking Netflix. Right? They're doing all kinds of weird stuff when I'm out there talking. And then I call one of the, and they're like dying when they see this. I call one person out, and I asked her. I said, "Could you?" As a woman, she was sitting right in the front table. I asked her to hold up the. I asked her if she was logged in. She said she was logged in. I said, "Well, how'd you know the password?" We go, "The password's right here on this paper." And what the password was I said, "Could you read the password backwards?" And she started to read the password backwards. "You've been hacked." Okay. And that was the freaking password. I'm sorry. That was the password that I used, but it was done in such a way when you keyed it in lowercase, uppercase, no one picked up on it. It's crazy, man. It's really crazy. But it's just the vulnerabilities exist every single day. All you got to do is you got to focus on risk. No one is exempt from this risk. No one is exempt from this process of being hacked, man. It could impact anyone.
So, I mean, you talk about the risk of being hacked by using a publicly available Wi-Fi, which I think we all, we travel with the family. My kids will say, "Well, is there Wi-Fi?" We'll go to a hotel or to Starbucks or something. That's always, is there Wi-Fi? But to your point, that's a risk. So do you have any examples where a company actually used a publicly available stream and then was hacked and something bad happened? They lost money or they lost PII?
This happened, Chris. This happens all the time. Happens. It happened to me personally. So my daughter was filling out applications for a college program. She went to a local cafe, and she happened to be using our credit card to fill out the application. So she connected to a local cafe. Here she is, my own daughter, right? I can't make this stuff up. And she's actually on her laptop going on to various sites. Each application was like $25. And she keyed the number in. So what happened is I ended up getting a call from a credit card company. And they said, "We've noticed unusual activity on your account. And we saw a bunch of charges for $25. And then all of a sudden we started to see other charges for other things on there right after that." I'm like, that's freaking crazy. I called my daughter up. I said, "Where are you?" She goes, "I'm at a cafe," literally while it was going on. I said, "Someone has a sniffer in the room. They're capturing information. Not only are they watching your internet activity, they captured your credit card information that you keyed in, and they stole it, and they've been using it." And she was freaked out because here she is in this cafe. There's somebody else in the cafe that's actually doing this. I said, "Shut down and leave the cafe. Don't worry about the charges because they'll end up getting reversed." This stuff happens to anyone. Every single company is vulnerable. Yes, you can use VPNs and things like that when you're out in public places. I'm not saying don't use the internet that's publicly available out there. If you use it smart. Don't use it for confidential things.
Well, and let's even play this out. Let's say, you're in charge of accounting and finance for a company. You happen to be traveling. You want to check your emails and use the public Wi-Fi, and a bad actor's there.
Right.
I mean, at that point,
right,
you can assume that they can likely get to your clients or your customers' info. And then is the standard now that you have to reach out to all of your customers, say, "We apologize, we've been hacked. We're going to cover monitoring for 2 years."
Chris. So every single state has notification policy. if you feel that your client's data or data has been potentially compromised, you are absolutely required. Each state is different because each state got in on the action. California is very stringent. Massachusetts is very stringent. New York is very stringent. Yes, you got to do notification. Yes, you got to notify your clients. Yes, and that even applies if maybe I have a laptop. If I have a laptop today and I don't have an encrypted drive on that laptop, and that laptop I lose it, I leave it on a train, I leave it on a plane, I just don't, or I don't know where it is. Staff person technically has to notify the company, hey, I don't know what I do with my laptop. And then we technically have to notify everyone who may have touched that client, that staff person that may be at risk. That becomes a huge problem. That's why today at Withum, every single one of our staff, we have laptops that have encrypted drives. So that is one of the exceptions to the notification provision, because it has to be on, if it's on an unencrypted drive, you have to do the notification. So an encrypted drive gets lost, no big deal. Nobody can technically get into it. There's a no notification. So you got to become aware of those notification rules that exist across the country.
Yeah. I mean, so now we've moved past just the financial risk, the theft, the dollars, now to, reputational risk where,
Right.
I mean, God forbid one of your biggest customers is included in that list that was touched by this client.
Yeah.
You could lose that customer or that client.
Not only can you lose the customer, think about your brand, right? Think about your brand in a marketplace. Who's ever going to deal with a company that gets reported as having been the subject to a breach, an incident, things like that? So that information is publicly available because those breaches get reported. There are websites that exist out there that report these breaches all the time. Your brand is the most important thing you have, and your brand can be diminished with one cyber attack.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's scary, man.
It is. So this has been a lot of great information. This is the part of the podcast where I like to take a quick breath and flip things around. We've talked business for a while, and this is what I call the backside of the card part of the podcast, where it's just about something for you to tell the audience about you personally. So for example, for me to tell the audience, I'm a big outdoorsy guy. I love hiking. I love the woods. I love the mountains. I take my family to all the national parks that we can drive to. So tell our listeners, what's one backside of the business card for you?
Well, backside is probably literally on my backside right here. So one of the things I totally enjoy doing is I totally enjoy baseball. I've always coached baseball from when my kids were little to grown up. And we go to the All-Star game every year. We go to the Home Run Derby. My obsession is baseball. But I will share with you this. That is my true obsession, man. That is my baseball card collection. So I have today every single Topps baseball card ever issued, except card number 311 from 1952. Card number 311 from 1952
Mantle?
Is Mickey Mantle's rookie card. Now, you may say, why don't you have it? You have and I literally have every other card ever issued by Topps in their normal sets from 1951 all the way to 2020. 2023 is about to be released. 1952 card number 311. It's a very expensive card, man. Let me just put it that way. It's seven figures, and it is killing me that I don't have that card. But the price is keeping me away from that card right now.
Well, I was going to ask, have you ever looked at the Ty Cobb tobacco card?
Yes, I have, man. Yes, I have. So tobacco cards came out before these gum cards came out. So what happened is, in 52, they started packaging gum. As you remember, I'm sure you bought cards as a kid and you opened it up and had the sticks of gum, that hard gum. And those are all the cards. So Topps started producing those cards actually in 1952. They started in 51 with a small set of cards that did not have the gum, which is they called redbacks and bluebacks. But the real cards started in 1952.
Wow. Well, I'll hope that one day that, life hands you 52 Mickey Mantle. I've seen that card. It's a beautiful card.
It is. It is. Don't rub it in, man. Don't rub it in.
So, yeah. So for our audience, what's one suggestion, one takeaway that you want them to retain about cybersecurity? One tip that you say, hey, if you do one thing, just do this.
So really the thing you need to do is focus on risk mitigation. Forget being hacked. Forget saying, hey, I've never been hacked. Take the extra step. If you run a company, educate your employees. If you're a CPA, educate your clients about risk and risk mitigation. That is the one thing that you could walk away with today that could save you literally millions of dollars later on, whether you're selling your company, whether you're advising a client, even if you just have your own home. Because think about it, your personal assets are at risk as well. So it's that risk mitigation. Educate, educate, educate. You can never get enough education about this space. So again, you're running a company, immerse your staff in education and awareness around the risk associated with cybersecurity breaches.
That's so funny. This whole discussion has been about technology, but the recommendation is the human element. That kind of says something right there. Where's the risk?
It is, man. So you're absolutely right. So think about it. We're all in this profession. We're so concerned about AI, right? This AI stuff, man, is going to take our jobs away. ChatGPT, oh my God, it's going to take our jobs away. No, there are human beings, all of us, behind these machines that run these technologies. We are still needed for that purpose, and we're still needed for cybersecurity too, man.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing is, and we're the biggest risk in the formula.
We are.
That's what I'm hearing.
We are.
Well, this has been a great discussion about what I think is an important topic, not only for the large public companies, but for your middle market, your small companies, that I think the message needs to get out there. So if there's any members of our audience that maybe have a small company, a middle market company that want to reach out and ask questions or maybe to talk further, how can they reach you?
Simple, man. I'm all over the place. jbourke at withum.com, JBOURKE at withum.com. They can reach me on LinkedIn. They can reach me on Twitter. They can follow me on Instagram. You want to follow me as I travel the world, talk about technology, I visit firms around the globe. Jim Bourke 1. Follow me on Instagram. And anyway, I'm so easy to follow. I'm so easy to connect with. Google me. You'll find me.
All right, Jim. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. It's been a great discussion.
All right, man. Thank you for inviting me, Chris.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.